To celebrate State Farm's surprisingly great rates, we gave this song surprisingly great lyrics.
Remember, when you try to get hard to style, State Farm has a special style. Great rates, baby, cash flow. If you come try it, you'll get just wonderful. Never call if you pay that toll. And you call on your ride home. The great service on the low, then call up State Farm. It's time to switch it up.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Charmin's got 6 ways of lunch, lasts forever on my buns. Only super mega when I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Math, like fractions and decimals, can be a pain, but they're an important part of succeeding in the construction industry. Let Valley Build help you succeed. Join their Bridge to Construction training program today. This training will help you prepare for a job in construction and give you the construction math skills you need to bridge over to our MC3 Apprenticeship Readiness Program. Training starts soon, so register at valleybuild.net. This message funded by the Fresno Regional Workforce Development Board's High Road Construction Careers SB1 grant. Auxiliary aids and services are available upon request to individuals with disabilities and/or limited English.
Taco Bell presents a get-out-of-bedtime story. It's time to wake up from this amazing dream, even though you're jet skiing on lemonade. How extreme! And oh, look at that. You just won the lottery. Is that a castle? Take the keys. It's your property. What's better than swimming in space? Just wait for the big reveal. It's Taco Bell breakfast and it's actually real. So it's time to wake up and bid your dreams farewell. Because toasted breakfast burritos are waiting for you. Only at Taco Bell. Participating Taco Bell locations near you during breakfast hours only.
It's the savings event of the season. Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle Extravafesta Save-A-Thon. Your chance to save big by bundling your home and auto insurance. But only this Sunday. Unless you're busy, in which case you can bundle Tuesday. Or if you already have dinner plans, then try Friday. But if the week gets away from you, you can just wait till next Sunday. Because Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle Extravafesta Save-A-Thon isn't going anywhere.
Discounts are available in most states or situations.
Norwegian tree mouse. That's a first.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton with Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And a lot of good old boys around the country. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton hasn't brought that Cadillac Escalade back. But tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, all around the world, follow Big C Sports on iHeartRadio Podcast, on Apple Podcasts. Follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify Speaker, all Fred Level War. You can also follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. You better have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Today is a beautiful August the 30th, 2021. I really appreciate the way things are going. I also want to say it's good to pause in life. Take a pause in life before you sign any contracts. But the contract you never should pause over is our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know any military veterans and their families going through any kind of trouble, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255 to get your family or military veterans some help. I really love giving it out because my father, a veteran in all spare and love and war. At the same time, you can call 800-273-8255. You can text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. BigCSports.net and definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley Home Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV of the first place San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the Home Run King Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him, where can I get some of that spinach to help Barry hit all those home runs? It's all fair level work. Tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple. We want to recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to help put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships are doing it. Sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to BigCSports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage and United Wholesale Mortgage, the number 1 and 2 lenders in the country on the wholesale side. Also, Big C Sports wants to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports all around the world. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world. And I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Also, this segment is sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol and 100% on your game. That means you can have fun without getting blitzed. It's all fair and love and war. It goes great with the Big C Burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meat? The great Sam Jackson and Pulp Fiction. Many people still asking, Charlton, where can I get one of these Big C burgers? What's it even look like? I said, watch the movie Pulp Fiction with Sam Jackson, John Travolta, Uma Thurman. I think Bruce Willis also in that movie. Directed and produced by the great Quentin Tarantino. And right before Sam Jackson and John Travolta, they shot that guy for his burger. Sam Jackson said, excuse me, did I break your concentration? He said, man, this is a tasty burger. What's all this exotic meats? Well, they cut out the exotic meats part, but I'm telling you, it comes with exotic meats, and exotic meats taste good. If they heard, rumor has it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hands. All's fair in love and war. As I also pay homage to my family, let's get ready to rumble! I love doing that with Big C Sports Podcast. ESPY nominated Big C Sports Podcast, All Fair in Love and War. And why would Big C Sports be ESPY nominated? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a test. You got to pass the test. Number one, there's no scripts on our show. And people say, yeah, Charlton, that's pretty obvious. Okay. There's no teleprompters, no three-way teleprompters. And some guys, they got 3 teleprompters. They still don't know which one to look at. It's all fair and love and work. It's a tough job. You don't believe so? Try it yourself. I don't have a producer. That's not true. I am the producer. It's all fair and love and work. I produce my shows. I don't use a script. I do it impromptu. I always honor God like Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. I also love saying that. The reason I'm ESPY nominated, number 1, I produce the show. Number 2, I direct the topics. Number 3, I do all of the sound effects. I do the commercials outside of what the agency does. I do the stats. I provide that. I do the storytelling. I do all of that on my own. At the same time, I quote Bible verses. All fair and love and war. And number 9, I upload every show to 15 multiple podcast platforms. 15 all around the world. Number 10, I never miss a show since September 12th. 2015, when Big C Sports was launched. At the same time, that was on Salem Media back in the day. I also my goal is to reach 1 million young people and just have them understand Christ, bring them to Christ, if that makes sense to you. And what I think about also, in Genesis 13:15, God said, for all the land that thou seest will I give thee, and to thy seed forever. I believe in that. And for you young people, who are looking for opportunities. I meet people every day. They're looking for a job. They're looking to farm another man's garden. Farm your own garden. God said in James 4:2, we have not because we ask not. So just ask. All you have to do is ask. I pay homage to my grandparents, my great-grandparents on my mother's side, called her Mamo, Hattie Leach. Also my great-grandfather, Pop. And then my grandmother, Madia, grandfather, Hezekiah. My beautiful mother, Bernice. My father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry. My grandmother, Alberta Curry. And my father, Everett. My father retired Air Force fighter pilot. He was a mechanic, worked on fighter engines, also flew them. My mother helped start a Head Start program in California. One of the biggest counties in California, my mother helped start that to make sure that kids could go to school. Isn't that something? That's how wonderful my mother's been. The #1 mother in the history of the universe. She did that. A lot of people can't say that about their parents. I can say that about mine. I love what's going on in the world of sports. We have week number 3 of NFL football, and there's some cuts that have happened. Also, we have Major League Baseball, where a lot of good old boys went hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. I really love that segment that even ESPN has stolen from Big C Sports Podcast. I should have put an alarm on it. It's all fair in love and war. My mama said, baby, just pray. They're always going to try to take something that don't belong to them. A lot of people take stuff that don't belong to them. Mama told me that a long time ago, and people know who they are. They know who they are. When I was a young boy growing up, if we did something wrong, my grandparents made us get a switch. It was a longest walk. It was like Denzel Washington taking that walk in the Book of Eli. That's how long that walk was. Go get a switch. And when kids did something wrong, you know, they had this saying in the Bible. I still couldn't find it. It says, spare the rod, spoil the child. I never found that scripture in the Bible, but my grandmother mastered it. She had it tattooed on her hand. Spare the rod, spoil the child. I never saw that in the Bible, but maybe I haven't seen everything. And also on a serious note, New Orleans, thoughts and prayers with all the great people of Louisiana. Right down there where the hurricanes hit, there's a lot of refineries, so gas prices will probably go up in the next couple of days or couple of weeks. But New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton does not expect to return to the city following Hurricane Ida. And, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that have been displaced. I have a friend out of St. Louis, Missouri, saying that he has people that were down in Louisiana and their houses are gone. Just gone. All fair and love and war. There's also some fantasy football news that Big C Sports will be involved in. You know, fantasy football is amazing. I went to look at an NFL magazine, and it says, fantasy football. Are you ready for some Big C Sports fantasy football? Yeah, you are. You're waiting for it. Indianapolis coach Carson Wentz, Ryan Kelly, Zach Pascal placed on reserve. COVID-19 list. Everybody getting their vaccines and getting COVID anyway. You don't say. New York Giants trade defensive lineman B.J. Hill to Cincinnati Bengals for offensive lineman Billy Price. All fair and love and war. Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, he defends playing running back J.K. Dobbins, who suffered a knee injury in preseason. I mean, I feel football's a tough sport. You can't blame the coach. Everybody has a chance to play sports, and when you play sports, you may just get injured. It's just part of it. Minnesota Vikings tight end Irv Smith Jr. to have knee surgery this week because football's a tough sport. And sometimes you get injured. It's a tough game. Fantasy Football Focus podcast boards, bet scoreboards for 2021. Big C Sports part of Fantasy Football for 2021. We'll have the biggest fantasy football broadcast network in the universe. Nobody will have it the way we do. Whether it's FanDuel or DraftKings, we're going to be launching that before kickoff of 2021. All fair and love and war. NFL roster moves, final 53-man player projections, all 32 teams going to have some of that, as well as some of the power baseball teams and games of the week coming up for Big C Sports Podcast, all fair and love and war. But I'm going to start, over the weekend in college football, UCLA looked very strong, ready for their game coming up against LSU. Skip Kelly's doing his thing. The Bruins put up 44-10 over Hawaii. All fair and love and war. Also, Fresno State had a big win over UConn. And Fresno State's going to be playing UCLA coming up too. And then we had Illinois knocking off Nebraska and Scott Frost. Did Nebraska make a mistake in bringing back Scott Frost? Maybe they should have found Coach Tom Osborne. Get him out of politics and get him back onto the playing surface. Nancy Pelosi and Nick Saban, she's saying Nick Saban hanging around too long. Too many paperbacks floating around the SEC because of Nick Saban. The great Nancy Pelosi. All fair and love and war. That's sports and politics. It does mix. Before I get into some of the things with the scores in NFL football over the weekend, and I love NFL football. It is fantastic. I think they should really hire, they have, are you ready for some football? Yeah, that's fun and exciting. But they should really hire Charlton with Big C Sports to say, It's time! Welcome to the show! I really think the NFL should do that. But one of my favorite personalities in NFL as a coach and now a commentator, former player, the great Tony Dungy is not happy with NFL's Monday announcement. Think about this. Tony Dungy, former NFL head coach, he was in the 2016 Class Pro Football Hall of Fame induction speech during the NFL Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. It was August 6, 2016 in Canton, Ohio. But NFL announcer, think about that. They announced an agreement with Fox, Bet, MGM, PointsBet, and WinBet today. They announced that. All four are now approved for sportsbook operators of the NFL for the 2021 season per some media outlets. It's a sign of the times. The NFL has reached an agreement with Fox, Bet, BetMGM, and PointsBet as well as WinBet to become approved sportsbook operators for the 2021 NFL season. Of course, nobody cheats in NFL. Nobody throws games. I'm understanding Tony Dungy's point. There's always two sides to a coin, but I understand it. Despite the overwhelming support of the sports betting, that's part of what Big C Sports is getting into also. Fantasy sports. I'm not going to say sports betting. Ours mostly fantasy sports for Big C Sports, not the sports betting. I want to keep all of my fingers. I need all of them to eat the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. But you don't know how tasty it is if you don't have all your fingers. That's why I stay away from gamblers. But despite the overwhelming support of sports betting, even from professional leagues like the NFL, Tony Dungy is in opposition. He complained about it Monday afternoon. I agree with some of what he's saying, but not all. But he has a good point. Tony has a really good point. He said, I really don't like seeing this, and when it came into the league and the NFL had a stance against gambling, you know, they used to have a stance against a lot of things. And the NFL's newest partnership. Now it seems like we've accepted it, and Dungy said he realized it's legal now, but we've all seen the damage gambling can do to lives. Just like in some places, prostitution is legal. But who would steer their daughter into that profession? It's the oldest profession in the world. Just because smoking is legal, what doctor would steer their patients into doing that? It has a warning on the label. You can Google it. Don't get mad at me. It's a fact. And so at the same time, Dungy is clearly in moral opposition to the NFL's latest decision. But the reality is that gambling is not as much a part of the NFL as the actual on-field play. And that's not an exaggeration. You think people don't throw games? Yeah, wake up. You think people don't gamble after dark? Wake up. You think prostitution is not real? Open your eyes. There's a lot of things that are legalized in some parts of the country and even some parts of the world like Amsterdam, but it doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean it's healthy and safe for the people that are involved in it. I'm not preaching, I'm just saying. So Dungy clearly in moral opposition to the NFL's latest decision, but the reality is that gambling is not as much a part of the NFL as the actual on-field play, and that's no exaggeration. Sports gambling is spreading like the California wildfires. And again, they've even closed access to South Lake Tahoe in California side because the fires are so massive in California, in part of Nevada. Where's the National Guard? But gambling is spreading like wildfires across the nation. It's legal in more than 24 states. So is smoking. But ask your heart doctor if it's healthy for you. Don't get mad at me. There's a warning by the Surgeon General on the label. Especially people who are dealing with the effects of it. But think about it. That number's going to grow in the coming years. Even Big C Sports is getting hooked up with fantasy football, because it's the fastest growing thing out there in the country. The NFL has made its stance very clear that gambling is a big part of the sport's future. And when people gamble their life savings and they put out their homes or lose their businesses, the NFL said, hey, all I did was give you I gave you the warning, like on the cigarette, the warning by the Surgeon General. It may cause cancer. It's a warning. The NFL is saying don't gamble with more than what you could afford to lose. So everybody has their own thoughts on that. I'm not part of the gambling part of it. but I do believe that fantasy sports is it's a growing thing, and people are going to do it whether you like it or not. So I just want to say, tell young people, you know, it's not an easy thing to deal with. I know of people who if you go down to Vegas, it looks really pretty when they turn the lights on at night, but like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Let there be light on the downside of gambling. I've known people that came to collect their debt with wire pliers and a blowtorch. I'm not joking. There's a good side and a dirty side to the gambling industry. And the NFL's gotten in bed with it. How do you sleep with the devil? How do you sleep with the devil and not get in trouble? You pretend it doesn't exist. You tell your kids, when you send them money, don't use it on gambling, playing Guido. I've known of kids who got money from parents and they thought they were using it for food. They were gambling, got involved with the wrong people, and next thing you know, they're afraid to come home. They're afraid to even go out of the house. Because there's bad people in the business too. I've seen it with my own two eyes growing up. Like, why are they beating this guy up so badly? He didn't pay his debts. Not all fair love and war, but it is all fair love and war. I'm going to talk about some Major League Baseball and going to talk about some college football. We just gave you the UCLA getting ready for the big game with LSU. Fresno State also a big win. They had a big win over the weekend over UConn. San Jose State, the defending conference champion. Mountain West champion, defeated, I think they won 45-10 over Southern Utah. Not a fair game, but this is for my friends down in Florida and Texas. We always talk about who plays the best football. For all the people in the media, they say, well, the Pac-12 doesn't play good football. You're going to find out when UCLA knocks off LSU, and then Orgeron's going to say, well, they had a faster team than we thought they were. That's what he's going to say. Is the Bruin better than the Tiger? Of course they are. His Ed Orgeron after the UCLA beatdown of LSU. I'm going to predict 35-21. Because Ed Orgeron, give us your thoughts on UCLA and your venture back into the Pac-12 since you left USC. Your thoughts on the game of LSU and UCLA. Well, they're a lot faster than I thought they were. They ran the ball up and down the field. It's like they were running track practice. They also had defense. I thought they were playing with real bears on the defense. That's all very level war. The great Ed Orgeron. And, of course, Chip Kelly, he's going to be himself, mercurial self. Well, I thought we could have played better. Obviously, we're happy with the results of the game, but there's a lot of things we need to work on. We got to get our running game going. And like Chip, you ran for 350 yards. 350 yards against LSU and passed for another 300 yards. I think UCLA is going to put on a number on the LSU program. They had 44 points in the third quarter against Hawaii. You make the call. And they didn't even show their full arsenal of weapons because they wanted to wait for some of that. This section is sponsored by the Big C Burger. It is a tasty burger that comes with exotic meats, as the great Sam Jackson says. What's all this exotic meats? It's all fair and level war. California and Florida, Texas, who plays the best football? CIF Prep, Big C Sports Style, along with Max Preps. The top high school football team in the country. Number one, Mater Dei, led by the great Bruce Rollinson out of Santa Ana, California. They took on Texas Powerhouse out of Duncanville, Texas. And they went to Texas. And the hint is they brought their own Gatorade. I told Bruce, bring your own Gatorade. Don't drink the Gatorade they make down in Texas. That homemade stuff is not FDA approved. Final score? Who plays the best high school football in the country? Number one, Mater Dei 45, Duncanville 3. They didn't even score a touchdown in Texas. 45-3 out of the Trinity League. California plays the best high school football. In the last 3 years, Mater Dei's knocked off IMG Academy of Florida, the number one team in Florida. Mater Dei knocked off St. John's out of Baltimore, Maryland, the number one team in Maryland. Mater Dei has now knocked off Duncanville, Texas, the number one team in Texas. They've won 3 of the last 5 national championships, minus COVID. So congratulations to Bruce Rollinson and Mater Dei. Number 3 in the country, Big C's thoughts, St. John Bosco, Bellflower, California. 35-12 over Florida's top team, Miami Central. Who plays the best high school football? St. John Bosco 35, Miami Central 12. You can Google it. So why are the California kids leaving to go down south and play? Something about something about paper bags. It's a paper bag test. Sometimes it's something inside of that paper bag, like a piñata. So many greenbacks in that paper bag. But just to get on to the high school, Elijah Brown leads Monarchs to a 45-3 statement over Duncanville. And then also Bixby of Beaufort and Corona Centennial enter the rankings after impressive victories. Corona Centennial of California. In the biggest game of the young season, Big C Sports Thoughts on Friday Night Lights. Number 1 Modern Day Show Wyatt tops the Max Prep Top 25 in Big C Sports Prep Top 25 high school football rankings after a 45-3 blowout win over a previously ranked Duncanville of Texas, the number 1 high school football in Texas according to some polls. Sophomore quarterback Elijah Brown completed 18 of 23 passes, 269 yards, and 3 touchdowns in a one-sided affair that matched California versus Texas schools for the first time in the Max Prep era. But there was a couple of years also, Max Prep's got that wrong. It was Bishop Amat of La Puente. They beat a high school called Aldo, Texas. They won 2 state championships in Texas in the last 5 years. The score of Bishop Amat 44, Aldo 14. Google it. You heard it first on Big C Sports. The Monarchs defense held the Panthers to under 200 yards of total offense. Texas, number 1 team, doesn't even get 200 yards on total offense against California's finest. Who plays the best high school football? Same thing can be said for college football. And forced 2 turnovers, including a 38-yard pick 6 from star cornerback DeMonte Jackson. Modern Day faces Liberty of Henderson, Nevada, September 10 at the Polynesian Football Classic. The 42-point loss to Texas' top-ranked team drops Duncanville from the rankings. You don't say. Texas' number 1 team gets beat by 42 points by California's number 1 team. And you have people around the country saying, well, the Pac-12 doesn't play the best football. All's fair in love and war. I want to congratulate Modern Day on their big win. There's a lot of other teams that have big wins too. But I like to focus on the top ones from California because they really did a good deed in showing the country that California does play the best high school football. It's all fair and love and war. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When I come back, I'm going to talk about the NFL football and some of the things we can learn from week 3 from the 32 teams involved. I'll try to get through all of them. We'll take what's called the Big C pause in the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the number 1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. It's better to have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, it's all fair and love and war. I love so much what I do with Big C Sports Podcast. I keep it real, no scripts, no teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I don't even have someone bring me a cup of water. I do that on my own. It's all fair and love and war. But when you wonder why we're ESPY nominated, again, I produce, I direct, I do the storytelling, the script writing, the preparing, the stats. I even do some play-by-play, as you'll hear that coming up also, Big C Sports style play-by-play. I do all of it because I have the ability. I ask God when I speak, guide my words. Some people say, yeah, but we don't like your show anyway. It's okay. Some people do like the show. Not everybody likes the Big C burger. They know it's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, but some people are vegan. Get impressed with how big those exotic meats are. All fair and love and war. I had a lot of good games going on in the NFL over the weekend. I'm going to run down the scores, and then I'll talk about some of the highlights that I think are important to Big C Sports Podcast. August 27, Indianapolis Colts 27, Detroit 17. Philadelphia 31, New York Jets 31 in a tie. Carolina Panthers 34, Pittsburgh 9. Kansas City Chiefs 28, Minnesota 5. Actually, Minnesota 25 on August 28th. Over the weekend, a lot more games were played. Yeah, all fair and love and war. It was Buffalo 19, Green Bay nothing, Baltimore 37, Washington 3, Chicago 27, Tennessee 24, Tampa Bay, the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23, Houston 16, Denver 17, LA Rams 12, Seattle 27, and the Chargers nothing. The Arizona at New Orleans game was canceled because of Hurricane Ida. Really appreciate everybody. The first responders really have their hands full trying to figure things out. I just hope that everybody can stay safe with everything that's gone on in the world of football. We're trying to play games, and people are having their toughest challenges at times, just trying to stay healthy with their family. San Francisco 49ers and what used to be the Battle of the Bay 34, and the Raiders out of Las Vegas, they had 10. How did John Gruden, $100 million? He's lost more games than he won. They scored 10 points. 10. All fair and love and war. I know it's preseason, but they have a losing record. Shanahan outcoached him. Learned a lot from him as a young man, maybe, but outcoached him. I want to talk about some of the stats that happened over the weekend. Joe Burrow competed 264, 404 passes for 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's last year, in 2020, in 10 games. So we'll see how well things happen with them. Free agent running back, Baltimore native Todd Gurley has already been linked to the Ravens. News with J.K. Dobbins out of the year with an ACL tear. I remember so much about Gurley when he was in the backfield in Los Angeles, because Jared Goff, the Rams up to the line of scrimmage, 50-yard line, 1st and 10. Seahawks in the 5-man front. The Rams have 4 wideouts, I set formation. Goff turns around, hands off to Gurley. Gurley is running right at the 50, cuts the corner at the 40. He's at the 30, he's at the 20, he's at the 10, he's at the 5. Touchdown, Rams! Todd Gurley, 50 yards! That good old boy was doing his thing. Went back to Atlanta. If they put Todd Gurley in the backfield with Superman Jackson, that team may have just knocked off Cleveland. Just a thought. Defenses are pretty much legit. While sharing backfield duties in Atlanta, Gurley in 2020 had 195 carries, 678 yards, and 9 touchdowns. 25 catches, another 164 yards. A few years removed from the 2017 and 18 campaign. Hasn't quite been the same production-wise, but when you have Superman Jackson that can also, you got to honor the play-action pass now. That's my opinion. It's just my opinion. The Jets acquiring Shaq Lawson for a 6th-round pick, sources say, didn't just work out for the Houston Texans and the New York Jets. Needed pass rush help. The Jets acquired defensive end Shaq Lawson from Houston for a 6th-round pick. That's going to help a little bit. Lawson spent the first 4 seasons of his career in Buffalo and last season with Miami, which traded him to Houston in March for a linebacker, Benedict McKinney, a swap of late-round picks. I think it's going to be legit for that team. In 2020, Shaq Lawson had 32 combined tackles, 17 solo, and 4 sacks, 18 quarterback hits, and 1 forced fumble, and recovered a 36-yard touchdown. I think it's only going to help him. Cortland Sutton, touchdown in the first game, week 2 since 2020. The Broncos receiver Cortland Sutton made his preseason debut in Denver's 17-12 win against the Los Angeles Rams over the weekend. It's all fair and love and war. Bridgewater up to the line of scrimmage. They have 4 wideouts, 5-men front by the Rams. Back to pass, rolling, looking to his left. Look at those downfield. Has a man in his caught by Cortland for the touchdown. Cortland Sutton, 50 yards. Takes it to the house. I think that's going to help Denver. Bridgewater's going to do his thing. But think about what's happened with that young man. It's his first game action for the former 2nd-round draft pick since he suffered an ACL injury in week 2 of the 2020 season. Sutton gave the Broncos plans plenty to get excited about. They were excited up at Mile High City. He caught 2 passes, 27 yards, including an 8-yard touchdown pass from touchdown Teddy Bridgewater, who actually cracked the starting job for the Broncos, and I think that's a good move by the Broncos team. I want to take you to another team. Tyler Huntley accounts for 5 touchdowns. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 touchdowns. And amazing. In a preseason final, the Ravens are set at quarterback with former MVP Lamar Jackson poised for another big season. But after yet another impressive performance in an exhibition from Tyler Huntley, Baltimore has got to feel confident his backup has to step up in this season. Huntley accounted for 5 touchdowns in the Ravens' 37-3 beatdown in the preseason win against the Washington football team. He threw 4 touchdown passes and rushed for another while completing 24 of 33 passes. it's all fair and love and war. This team is a good team. And I like the Ravens. And Huntley, I mean, he's always just going to add if Lamar Jackson has to go to the sideline just for a breather. I mean, they're loaded. Harbaugh has a good team in Baltimore. Justin Fields, touchdown! Fields doing his thing, throws a touchdown in the season final versus the Titans, making his first preseason start. Chicago Bears quarterback, the great touchdown Justin Fields, threw for a touchdown. But just before the end of the second quarter, they put his team up 14-10 over the Tennessee Titans, heading into halftime of Saturday's final ahead of the regular season. It's all fair in love and war because I really like this team, Chicago. I know they're young, but Justin Fields is up to the line of scrimmage, 50-yard line. They have 4 wideouts, 5-man front. A 5-man front on defense by the Titans. And then we have Justin Fields. Can he be the solution? The snap, Justin Fields rolling, scrambling to his right, throws downfield, has a man, it is caught for the touchdown! Jesper Horsted! 50 yards! Justin Fields, right for the pass through a tight window to find tight end Jesper Horsted for Chicago's first offensive touchdown of the day. At the half, Fields has completed 7 of 10 passes for 54 yards, and he also scrambled 13 yards on 2 carries. If you can't see the talent that young man brings to the game, go get some glasses. Go get some glasses. That good boy, I was saying he's even a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. He won the 7-on-7 camp, but Lawrence got all the media down with Dabo Swinney, and Dave's not as liked as among college coaches as Dabo, but Fields a better quarterback in my opinion. They're both good though. Justin Reed assumes kicking duties in Texans pregame or preseason game against the Buccaneers. Texans safety Justin Reed was seen attempting field goals during warm-ups ahead of Houston's preseason matchup against Tampa Bay. Reed ultimately delivered the opening kickoff as well. The 4-year defensive back assumed those extra duties because kicker Cam Fairbairn is dealing with a minor injury, according to reports. Reed is one of the team's longest tenured players. The 2018 third-round pick out of Stanford University logged 5 interceptions in 19 passes defense and forced a fumble in 3 seasons. I mean, this guy just needs more opportunities, but they're going to have a tough season in Houston. They're just depleted. Now it seems that Deshaun Watson might be headed down to another destination. All fair and labor. The Ravens, I feel bad, J.K. Dobbins. He had to exit the game with a knee injury against Washington. Baltimore Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins was helped off the field by trainers after a knee injury in the first quarter of Saturday's preseason game against the Washington football team. Dobbins, the projected starting running back for the Ravens, was ruled out for the rest of the game by the team. Dobbins tackled after catching a screen pass with about 9 minutes left in the first quarter and then grabbed his left knee. It didn't seem like it was all that ominous. But Dobbins was carted off the field, back to the locker room, and evaluated at the sideline. The 2020 second-round pick rushed for 805 yards, 9 touchdowns in 15 games last year as a rookie. And he led all running backs with 6 yards per carry. That's going to be missed production. But if they get Gurley, they may not miss him as much, but I just wish him nothing but the best. You hate to see guys get injured. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they placed Ndamukong Suh on the reserve COVID-19 list. Tampa Bay Buccaneers placed defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh on the reserve COVID-19 list. He did not travel with the team to Houston for the preseason final. He cannot return until he has 2 negative tests at least 24 hours apart. Suh is the Buccaneers' 4th player on the list, joining kicker Ryan Suckup and offensive lineman Earl Watford and Nick Levesque. I mean, these guys, they're telling everybody to get COVID vaccines, and they're still testing positive. I guess the goal is you won't have as many side effects, negative effects. Head coach Bruce Arians said after Suckup tested positive for the virus that he would not allow players, including those who are fully vaccinated, to leave the team hotel or family visits during road trips this season. Dominic is only 34 years old, so he has another 3 or 4 years left in him. Entering his 3rd season with the Buccaneers, the 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler has not missed a game due to injury in his 11 years, but COVID sacked him. He got sacked by COVID. Off-brand Labor. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen carves up the Packers, and backup Jordan Love, somewhat inconsistent in their preseason game, final preseason game on Saturday. Allen, who still out the Bills' first 2 exhibition games, went 20 for 26, 194 yards and 2 touchdowns in 3 possessions, working against mostly Packers backups. He rallied a 31-yard touchdown pass to Gabriel Davis in the third and 20 midway through the first quarter, and added a 3-yard touchdown pass to Zach Moss late in the first half to give Buffalo a 13-0 lead. When you think about it, Allen up to the line of scrimmage. Goal line formation by the Packers. Allen, 3-step drop, throws over the middle, and is caught for the touchdown! Touchdown, Buffalo! A 3-yard pass. And, that's not that impressive, but he made a good pass to Zach Moss late to give the Bills a 13-0 lead at that time. Jake Fromm ended just before halftime, ending Allen's day. Allen, 25 years old, finished second in MVP voting last year and signed a 6-year, $258 million contract. That's what Charlton needs to sign. $258 million contract. You hear that? I have an ark on my side to sign it like Noah's Ark. $258 million. I want $6 billion for manifesting that, but definitely deserve it as the ESPY-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. Rolling. It's all fair in Leavenworth. And the other side, quarterback Jordan Love, Utah State's finest out of Liberty High School in Bakersfield, California. He returned from an injured right shoulder, sustained in the preseason opener for the Packers, playing mostly with reserve players against the Bills' starting defense. Love went 10 for 16, 132 yards, had an interception in the first half. Green Bay moved at least 54 yards on all 3 of his first possessions. Again, it's preseason, but Love threw incomplete on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line in the opening drive and was intercepted in the end zone in the second. The third drive stalled at the 10, and Mason Crosby missed a 28-yard field goal attempt to keep the Packers in their misery. It's all fair and Leavenworth. It's preseason. I want to bring up something about the COVID. Buffalo Bills Isaiah McKenzie gets vaccinated after he was fined. You're going to get the vaccine. Why get fined first? Football players are the smartest players in the universe. All fair in Leavenworth. But Buffalo Bills wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie appears to have gotten COVID-19 vaccine 2 days after he was fined $14,000. Someone couldn't warn him. They're not going to get the money back. 2 days after he paid $14,000, then he gets the COVID. It's all fair and Leavenworth. Better late than never. Because in the team facility, COVID-19 protocols, unvaccinated players, they're required to wear a mask. For the greater good, McKenzie wrote alongside a video of him holding up his vaccination card. I also have one, which he posted on Instagram Saturday. The card shows his first shot administered Saturday. Do what you say. Do what the doctors tell you. But do it before you give up $14,000. That's my opinion. All fair level. The Eagles acquired Gardner Minshew out of Washington State and Jacksonville, conditional 6th-round pick. Gardner Minshew from the Jaguars to the Eagles on Saturday in exchange for a conditional 6th-round pick. The team announced that. The pick can become a 5th-rounder if Minshew plays at least 50% of his snaps in 3 games this season, including multiple reports. Gardner Minshew is only 25 years old, relegated to backup duties in Jacksonville when rookie number 1 pick Trevor Lawrence, who officially named the starter on Wednesday. What took the coach so long? All fair and Leavenworth. Urban Meyer doing it his way. He, like the great Frank Sinatra, he did it his way. Urban Meyer. But Lawrence officially named the starter Wednesday. He went 7 of 13 in 20 starts through his first 2 seasons. Think about that with Minshew. I really like Lawrence. It's a good thing. But they're gonna have a tough time winning games this year because they're young. But it's about the learning process. A 6th-rounder out of Washington State 2019, threw for 3,271 yards, 21 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, and 14 games, 12 starts as a rookie. Added 2,200 yards last year, and 16 touchdowns, had 5 interceptions. We have our first preseason tie. There's nothing wrong with that. It's preseason. The Jets, James Morgan, 49-yard Hail Mary pass to Kenny Yeboah as time expired in regulation, and Josh Adams' 2-point conversion helped the Jets finish a tie with the Eagles on Friday's preseason game. Overtime in the preseason was officially eliminated, perhaps for good reason, in April, so no winner will determine. There was no winner will determine in that game. All fair and Leavenworth. Joe Flacco completed 13 and 16 passes, 188 yards, plus 2 40-yard touchdown passes for the Eagles. He played for the Jets in 2020. He's a journeyman, been around since he won that Super Bowl down in New Orleans. Again, thoughts and prayers for everybody down in New Orleans. Hope that everybody can stay safe. All fair and Leavenworth. Former Eagles running back Boston Scott, 49-yard touchdown catch and run. Scott 6'1" defender often makes a second miss on the starter step. And one might see it's all fair in love and war. This guy should have a good season if he just stays healthy. I want to turn to touchdown. Touchdown, Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs to Tyreek Hill is still dangerous. When you think about a 35-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill, it led Kansas City to another win over the weekend. When you think about it, one of the league's most potent quarterback-receiver combos, still just that potent, and Kansas City got a win over the weekend. It's all fair in love and war. I really like this team. And no matter what happened in last year's Super Bowl, when you have touchdown Patrick Mahomes finding Tyreek Hill in the end zone, is always going to help that team win games. If you can find a better quarterback and receiver combination than those two, then you gotta play them. I really like Kansas City again to repeat as the AFC champion, but they got to win over Minnesota. And seeing touchdown Patrick Mahomes staying healthy and Tyreek Hill, these two have another chance to have a better season coming in because their offensive line is now healthy again. They're not banged up like they were last year. Even in the playoffs, they were banged up. And then, of course, in the Super Bowl 55 against the Buccaneers, they were banged up. And so having them back now, every defensive coordinator is going to have to, eat a lot of collard greens and maybe eat a bowl of Wheaties before the game, if that makes sense to you. So they won't have constipation. Up to the line of scrimmage, you have 4 wideouts, 5-man front by the Vikings. Touchdown Patrick Mahomes. The snap rolling to his right, throws to Tyreek Hill at the 40, down inside the 30, cuts back at the 20, at the 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Chiefs! 40 yards! The great Patrick Mahomes. All you got to do is get the ball to Tyreek Hill. He'll make things happen. I want to move into Indianapolis. The Colts quarterback Sam Ehlinger leaves preseason game with a knee injury. You hate to see guys getting injured in the preseason. But the Colts star Sam Ehlinger left the game in the preseason final against Detroit Lions with a knee injury. Won't return, the team said. He's a rookie 6th-round pick competing with Jacob Eason for the number 2 job behind Carson Wentz, who was 3 for 3, 63 yards and 1 rush for 14 yards before exiting the game. That includes a play in the second quarter where Ehlinger escaped a sack before completing a downfield throw to Desmond Patman for 60 yards. All fair and level where Coach Ron Rivers has a big win. High school debut. Congratulations to him, 9-time Pro Bowler Phillip Rivers won his first game. Head coach of St. Michael Catholic High School in Alabama over the weekend, a 49-0 win over McIntosh. All fair in love and war. I know everybody has their own opinion about who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I really like the 49ers. The 49ers look legit. I mean, these guys are good. Garoppolo's going to do his thing. But I also like, when you think about it, Lance is amazing. I wouldn't start him, though. Trey Lance is amazing. I would not start him. Let Jimmy G do the thing. I believe he's 22-8. Jimmy G knows how to win, has Super Bowl experience. But they blew out the Raiders 34-10 over the weekend. And they could have put more points on the board, but they were trying to be nice. Shanahan was trying to be nice to John Gruden. But if you watch the 49ers, Jimmy G's more of a game manager, pocket passer. But Lance, that good a boy, I thought Colin Kaepernick was playing again. I thought Steve Young was playing again. Yeah, he has to get a little bit more consistent, but his play action is off the hook. He can pull it down and throw it with the rest of them. He can pull it down and run it. He has a great run-pass option. Going to give defenses fits. But if you like what he is, start Jimmy G the first half of the season. Let defenses get used to that. And let Lance come in the second half of the season and mix in plays. Because the defenses won't have a read on him. This kid is going to be amazing. He's the real deal. In their defense, the 49ers will have one of the top 2 defenses in the NFL this year. They are just that good. And when you realize they don't have to rush this kid along, just give him a chance. I like Lance. The 49ers have another fistful of gold if they play their cards right. Their biggest threat in the NFC is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, along with the Green Bay Packers. But Green Bay's only won 1 Super Bowl under Rodgers. You think about Jimmy G took them to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago when he was healthy. They're a better team now than the team that won the NFC Championship and went to the Super Bowl. They're a better team now, in my opinion. I mean, I really like what they have. Zach Wilson for the Jets keeps impressing. The Eagles finish strong. Rookie quarterback Zach Wilson seems to be impressing everybody after a stellar Week 2 performance. It's all fair and level war. It's preseason. Don't want to. You want to crown him. The late industry. You want to crown him. Not going to crown him just yet. But I do like what I saw. The Steelers, the latest on the Steelers and Panthers ahead of Week 3 matchups. I mean, Ed Bochette. It's all fair and level war. A lot of questions about the Steelers finishing the preseason against Carolina. I really like Najee Harris. Give him a chance to be the man that counts for them in the backfield. McCaffrey was going to do his thing for the Carolina Panthers on the ground. This is just my opinion. You got to let those guys play. So everybody has an opinion on football. I wanted to bring that to you. The New Orleans Saints, the hurricane really did a lot of damage down in New Orleans. I want to hope that everybody's just make sure your family's good. You got to make sure nothing's more important than your health. A lot of people have been displaced. And so that's what NFL wrap up Big C style, all fair level war. And I want to just bring along some news that's necessary. I hate talking about it, but it's true. Arrest warrant issued for football coach Carl Pelini. An arrest warrant reportedly issued for Youngstown, Ohio, Carl Mooney High School head coach Carl Pelini on Monday. He's a high schooler in Youngstown, Ohio, high school coach. He's being charged with domestic violence. He's not currently in custody, as far as I know, but according to police reports, COVID's made a lot of people crazy. I know a lot of people that just acted crazy. A lot of people acting crazy. Don't get caught up in the junk. Have an arc in your life. Everyone needs an arc in their life that can walk them through the flood and bring them through the flood with some common sense. Stay out of harm's way. Don't let anybody do anything to get you in trouble. I'm not making any excuses for anybody. You should never, ever, ever put your hands on a woman. I don't know what happened in that situation, but that's high school. I work with a lot of high school coaches all over this country with Big C Sports. Colleges too, and professional teams too. I work with a lot of them. And I hope that we can just find a way to keep men and women safe. It happens both ways. You got to keep everybody safe. Before we come back and do the hit deep right field back to the wall segment, we're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout, in the words of the great honest word digger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. Again, no script, no teleprompter, no director. Yeah, people say that's out there talking. No teleprompter, no producer in my ear. I do the storytelling. I do the play-by-play. I do all the stats. The commercials be uploading to 15 different podcast platforms and 4 television podcast platforms. Big C Sports Podcast, SC nominated, all fair and level war. Major League Baseball schedule today. Runners on first and third. The pitch hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend, the Minnesota Twins, taking on the Detroit Tigers. And I don't give out scores because I want to keep all of my fingers, according to my prop betting friends, down in Las Vegas. Also, the Cincinnati Reds, they are the host team against the St. Louis Cardinals. The pitch hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends, all fair and level war. The Philadelphia Phillies will fly into Washington to take on the Nationals. And again, Nationals won the World Series just a few years ago, and they will take on the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't give out much more than I'm allowed to. Runners are first and third. The pitch hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends, all fair and level war. Major League Baseball. I'm telling you, we're running down the stretch of August to get into September, and then the stretch for October. The Baltimore Orioles, they are in Canada taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We have runners on first and second. The pitch hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. The Orioles having the time of it this year. The Blue Jays still in the swing of things, trying to take down the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know if they're going to catch the Lightning. The Yankees are always coming on strong. And don't forget about the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox on the road today, down in Tampa, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. All fair level war for the Rays. I was picking Boston to win this division. But not so fast, my friend, the great Lee Corso. The Rays are still holding on by the skin of their teeth. And we have runners on first and third. The pitch hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends, all fair and level war. The Rays, most likely, unless the Yankees chase them down, they may repeat as winning that division. They have the pitching. They have the bats. But I still want to see the Yankees in the World Series. Am I biased? I want to see the Yankees come out to the West Coast. We can put them on real pinstripes if they break the law. Sheriff Rupert D. Justice, if that makes sense to you. Colorado Rockies at the Texas Rangers. And what a beautiful ballpark down in Texas where nobody goes. Nobody cares. Runners on first and second. The pitch hit deep. Left field. That ball's hit him all. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. They spent over $1 billion at J.R. Ewing Ballpark down in Dallas, Texas. J.R. Ewing, the great J.R. Ewing, played by the late Gary Hackman. But nobody cares down there for the Rangers. Nobody cares. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. So fair and level war. $1 billion spent. Nobody cares. All fair and level war. I'm going to fly out of Texas and fly into Los Angeles, California, LAX. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the great Shohei Ohtani. He's the only guy that gets more attention than a mouse. He's more famous to see than Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. Runners on first and second. The pitch hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. I know everyone has to stay healthy, but I like the great Shohei Ohtani as being up for my MVP of the year. He does it on the mound. He does it in the batter's box, and he's also a great leader, and he's bringing the whole country to Japan to follow what he's doing. So I think he's more popular than Mike Trout for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Going to fly down to Arizona, where the Padres, Fernando Tatis Jr., will take on the Diamondbacks down in Arizona, and nobody cares down in Arizona. But the runners on first and third. The pitch hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. It's all fair and level where I really like the Padres. Too bad they're up in the same division with the National League West, the Dodgers and the Giants. Giants have the best record in baseball. The Dodgers have the best pitching staff in the universe. All fair and level war. Gonna fly up Northern California. SFO San Francisco International. The Milwaukee Brewers coming into town. What a great team coming out to the West Coast. And we have McCovey Cove Stadium's packed. Runners on first and third. The pitch hit deep. Right field, back to the wall, home run, splash down to McCovey Cove. I love San Francisco Oracle Ballpark. Yeah, and I want my World Series tickets. You guys know that's true. The home that Barry Bonds built is all fair and level war. The Giants have the pitching, and when the Giants come to town with the pitching and hitting, there's no reason that they will not get at least to the NLCS. Well, they'll most likely take on the Dodgers. That's just an opinion. But I know there's a lot of good baseball teams, and Milwaukee's a good baseball team too, but I think the Giants have the better team and the better pitching. We will see how they do in that series as we close out the month of August. I'm going to fly down to Los Angeles, LAX, Chavez Ravine, Dodger Blue, the home that Vin Scully built. The runners on first and third. The pitch hit deep. Left field. That ball's hit back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. I love the Dodgers. Their pitching arsenal. They're all Jedi Knight trained by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi. They can hit deep. They also have the greatest pitching staff in baseball. They have the greatest pitching staff that money can buy, if that makes sense to you. Nick Saban knows what that means. On a different level, all fair and level war. But we will see if they can keep chasing down the Giants. The Giants do not want to be caught, kind of like me when Mama said, boy, go get me a switch. And I'm still trying to find that switch. And I was a teenager back then. All fair and level war. Grandparents call it grandmother love. When you got your hand in the cookie jar too many times. I'm going to fly out of LAX to Seattle SeaTac, Seattle Tacoma International Airport. The Astros come to town with Dusty Baker. These good boys can hit the baseball. We have runners on first and third. The pitch hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. All fair and level war. I really love what they're doing down in Houston. Even though I'm still pulling for the Yankees, and the Giants World Series. You know, the Giants left Brooklyn back in the day, came out to San Francisco along with the Dodgers that came out. The Brooklyn Dodgers came out, and it'd be nice to have East Coast, West Coast. And I'm tired of seeing Tampa. They've already won they've already won the hockey championship and Stanley Cup. Then they won the Super Bowl. They don't need to win anything else. Enough already. It's all fair and war. Tim Tebow failed, but Urban Meyer is now welcoming another unsuccessful former player. It's all fair and love. He gives people chances. Tom Brady has found his new favorite receiver. All fair and love and war. I love so much going on in the world of sports. I just want to keep people informed that whatever you do in this life, you got to figure out a way to make it happen. You can't always count on people because people will quit on you. People will tell you the dog ate the homework. People will try to tell you all kind of things. But I love what I do with Big C Sports. It's a rise and shine every day, like my mother always said. My mother helped start a Head Start program in Central California. The most beautiful black woman in the history of the universe. My mother started that program. Everybody has their own belief in what you can do. But she did it coming out of Jim Crow. Big C Sports launched out of parents that were born in Jim Crow. Now on 15 podcast platforms. Some people don't have more than 2 or 3. I do so many things to carry this show. And a lot of people might say, yeah, well, other people might be more well-known, but they don't have their own show. They're sitting down there with teleprompters and producers in their ear and all the other things that they take to do a show. And I don't knock anybody that can do it, but I want to reach 1 million young kids and bring them closer to God, just know God's word. And that's why I say, in every show, I say Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Big C Sports wants to be light. Reason I'm ESPY nominated, number 1, I produce the show. I direct the topics, that's number 2. Number 3, I broadcast the show. I do the sound effects on Big C Sports Podcast. I do that. I don't have a studio doing that. I thank God for that. I do the commercials outside of what the agency does. I provide the stats, that's number 6. Number 7, I do the storytelling. I tell stories like my grandmother still got me looking for that switch, like the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all these exotic meats? I do it because I love it like breathing. Number 8, I quote Bible verses. Number 9, I upload every show to 15 multiple podcast platforms all over the world. That's Big C Sports Podcast, and even on 4 TV podcasts. I believe in the saying that I was told growing up in Genesis 13:15. For all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever. But you don't get it unless you show up. James 4:2, we have not because we ask not. So ask. I'm asking the sponsors that I've been talking to for $10 million. $10 million is not that much money. Not in the world of a $15 billion enterprise like the NFL. You can see it. I do it all. One-man crew. I don't make excuses. I never miss a show, never will. If God gives me breath and some common sense, which sometimes is fleeting, it's okay. Pretty sad dog can't wag his own tail. I know I used to have a dog like that, would not wag his tail. Took me until I was 8 years old to realize someone cut the tail off that Doberman Pinscher. He was trying to wag his tail, but he couldn't. They cut the tail off. I thought it was cool. They said it was for a dog show. All's fair and level war. I love to hit deep right field back to the wall. And you should too. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young men rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? As my mama always says, rise and shine. We rise and shine every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, iHeartRadio Podcast, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Podchaser. There's so many I can't name them all because it's hard to count to 15. It's okay. I'm college educated, but you try counting to 15. It's a tough job, but somebody got to do it. Every Monday through Friday, we tell you this. There's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because nobody should ever have to deal with racism or domestic violence. On every Big C Sports Podcast, we tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.